holla ballers, it's Preacher, and set your brains to fuck yeah. We're looking at the Elemental Shaman today. A lot of people probably expect me to blast this. We're coming to the end of the range theme that we've been running on the channel for a while, going of all the range classes in WoW. You can go ahead and check those out. Not much has changed, if anything, for the Elemental Shaman since we started Mists of Pandaria. So our old guides, still good. Still good, still telling you everything you need to know. So go ahead and click those in the background. Again, if you want to see a guide on how to play your rotation and so on and so forth, go ahead and do that. I'm going to take this opportunity to discuss the Ele Shaman and talk about exactly why it is easily my favourite Shaman spec of all three. I think it just dominates the other two. I really do, in terms of playstyle, gameplay, and all that kind of good stuff, and just the fact the way they work. Some of you will be surprised by that, but it's okay. It's okay. First things first, this is why the Elemental Shaman is good. Just check it out. That's right, they are just such a fucking blast. That's it. That is the way to describe them. They are a blast to play. Not only are they just throwing out those huge big numbers, the guaranteed crits that we've seen on other classes, but they don't have the drawback of being sterile and boring. That's why they're worth it. If I was to compare them to the Destruction Warlock, which is also throwing out their mega big crits, they have a little bit more going on for them. They have just more utility. They have more play. They have more fun involved. They're not hindered. They're not lackluster. So let's be a little bit more detailed on the pros of this class. First of all, it grew up from being a hybrid spec. It was born a hybrid spec. It was designed as a hybrid spec in mind. And now they're trying to bring it up to date, dragging and kicking its heels are enhancement and restoration. Resto has its heyday here and there, but certainly not been consistent. We've not seen a consistency that we would like to see with Restoration, and we've certainly still not figured out exactly why Enhancement needs to be as clunky as it is. But with Elemental, they certainly seem to have ironed that out, and what we're left with is not only a simple style of gameplay, but a huge amount of things that we can bring to the raid in unique situations in order to pull us out of the crap. We look at certain fights like the Empress, and Shamans were in abundance. Yes, they were, and they were bringing that elemental goodness. A lot of people have a history of the Ele Shaman not really dominating the DPS trees, dominating the meters. You're certainly not going to find the Elemental Shaman really popping into those top 10 in the world rankings, but that doesn't matter. Middle of the road is more than fine, and in fact the Ele Shamans, especially when they get the ability to use their extra little utilities, are not only vital, but they bring so many raid buffs, and when they have the opportunity to do a little bit of cheesing, as some might say it, they tend to shine and be in that top echelon of DPS. Whereas previously people stayed away, shied away, didn't want to play them because, well, they're kind of fun, but they're not really topping the meters, even though it's fun. These days, they actually are. They're coming quite close on a few occasions, and in general, they're certainly not rolling at the bottom, which makes them really good. First of all, they're not dominated by the fact that movement sucks for casters. That lightning bolt can be casted all the damn time. It can be casted while moving, it doesn't punish you, and in fact it lines you up nicely for a very capable mobile class that could do whatever it did. I can tell you about the utility as well, the tremor totems, all that kind of stuff. Not useful in every fight. Not useful in every fight, and that's why the PvP Shamans tend to get a lot more use out of those. But when it is called for in the DPS, when it is called for in a raid, that's where your Shamans are like, and the raid leaders are going, hey, have we got any more Shamans? You're damn right we need a few more Shamans, and we want them Elemental as well. Because it's a blast. Not only can you mix and match all your Resto gear into Elemental, then it's all good. So what's bad about it? What are the cons? What are the negatives? First of all, I'm going to say it, leveling, okay? I hated leveling my Shaman. I could not physically tolerate leveling it as Elemental. Unless you had a huge amount of gear, then leveling as Elemental was just a complete pain in the ass for me, which it shouldn't be. Being able to cast Lightning Bolt on the move should have made it quite easy, but ultimately Lightning Bolt is not our main source of DPS. It's throwing out those big, chunky, awesome lava bursts, and there go casting a Lightning Bolt while things are coming at you and beating on you and all that stuff. It just wasn't as fun as I would like. It didn't have that real niche element of speedy leveling and really nice, happy, fun times. I ended up switching to enhancement, which I further dislike, and generally didn't enjoy it. So capping a Shaman, at least from my perspective, isn't the most fun experience, especially if you're not someone to sit in dungeons all day, in which case you might have an easier time of it. On top of that, their talents are lackluster. Now, this is a Shaman problem, not really an Elemental Shaman problem, but we do have very limited scope in terms of the talents. Some of them are fun, some of them are interesting, but most of all, you're kind of pigeonholed into what's best. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, the Shaman does have to cover 3 different types of play. It has to be a healer, it has to be a melee class, and a ranged DPS class. As such, those talents are desperately trying to balance that out and provide utility for all 3 different gameplay styles. Whereas we can look at mages, warlocks, and hunters, where they're looking for 3 different ways of achieving the same goal, that be DPS, the Elemental Shaman has to put up with the fact that some of these talents are going to be more beneficial towards healers and some are going to be more beneficial towards melee, which kind of reduces our options. So although they do have that scope to switch into different playstyles, which new players will very much enjoy, they do not have that real variety in terms of talents. You tend to take the best one for you, and that is about it. It's an unfortunate side effect of being a hybrid class. Another downside is a little bit of cheesing is necessary. Let's face facts, Chain Lightning is fucking godlike, and so is Lava Beam. The amount of damage that thing puts out is retarded. You might see me popping up on the damage meters every now and again in the gameplay. Quite frankly, I'm still wearing 2 pieces of agility gear, and my gear ain't that good. But that provision of burst works wonders, and choosing the right talents for the job really helps out with that, with covering the fact that you've got low gear, therefore enabling you to see the potential growth in the class. I would really like to play this at a full-on scale. I think that would be really cool. Other than that, it is important to remember this is still a hybrid spec. Now, some of you might go, ugh, I just want to be a DPSer. Not so, because of the fact we have so much spell power and so much utilities, we can in fact be a very, very useful hybrid spec. We can still throw down super powerful healing rains. We can still throw out all those little things that help out our raid. We are still a hybrid at heart, and that is good. It's good for those of you who want a more supportive role. It's good for those of you who want to say, hey, you know what? Maybe my DPS here isn't the best. But I tell you what I can drop. I could drop a Bloodlust. I could drop a Stormlash totem that nobody else can do. I can also provide some off-healing where necessary, just like the Moonkins can. And in general, I'm just a kick-ass addition to your raid. I enjoyed this spec immensely. And I do wish, if you do get a chance to level one, you give it a try as Elemental and just enjoy it, because it's one simple style of play that isn't hindered by being boring at the same time. The switching up between nice cleavy AoE to nice single target burst when you start getting heavy mastery and you literally become a turret of lava bolts and elemental blasts, and all these spells start following each other up and you just become this domineering death machine. It's a hell of a lot of fun, guys. I had a blast of a time with this one. I hope you too. Take it easy, guys, and I'll see you later.